Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. Today on the Paul and Jeddy Show Part 2, I'm Alex Jedrzak, the head boy of GameCola.net, here with...
Hi, I'm Paul Franzen, GameCola's founder and former Jedditor-in-Chief.
Yes, and we are here for the Paul and Jeddy Show to discuss GameCola's 20th anniversary.
It's ridiculous.
Next year,
it's way too long.
GameCola will be able to drink. GameCola, of course.
GameCola, yeah. I get it. It was like a soda joke. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
It took me a second. Hopefully our listeners were a little quicker on the uptake than I was.
Yeah. Come back for another sip, I believe was the classic line back in the...
Gosh, yes,
back
yes.
In the day. And I think
we had the little logo. We had with the guy holding the soda can up.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. No, I think I showed you RPG Maker Cola and how they're really like all in on the like cola references. It's like, oh man, we're missing out. We should have kept that up.
Yeah, well, really ran the site into the ground, Jeddy. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. So we're here to discuss GameCola for its 20th anniversary. I believe we've told the tale of how GameCola started, the classic story of a boy and his brother has an entertainment website, I believe, and then so the boy goes and makes his own entertainment newsletter. It's something like that.
That's pretty much it, yeah. My older brother Dan had a movie review mailing list called Movie Mansion at the time, and I was kind of inspired by that to start my own video game review newsletter at the time, GameCola. I was in high school at the time. 2002, right? I was a high school junior at the time. When the very first issue, because again, newsletter, it was just me and my friend Matt Gardner, who some of you may remember. And it was just sort of us at the very beginning. And then as a few of my friends at school found out about it, they wanted to join too. And it sort of blew up in as much as a video game newsletter. It was online only on Yahoo in 2002 could have. We were quite serious about it, though. I'm sure I've told this before, but we would have semi-regular meetings in the school cafeteria after school. Yeah. We would take over a table and sort of discuss like what we wanted to write about in the next issue. I remember very vividly when we were planning the first GameCola year-end awards. I actually had paper ballots that I printed out and passed out to everybody to have them like write and check off or write or whatever their favorite games of the year were. I actually have on micro cassette tapes recordings of a few of these meetings. I should try to dig those up someday.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that before. Oh, man.
But yeah, that's sort of where it started. At various points during the newsletter era in high school, I would actually like print out the entirety of the month's newsletter, like on double-sided paper too, so it looked really professional, and then kind of staple it along the left edge because I really wanted it to be a magazine. I wanted it to be a magazine so bad. So I made my own on my home printer, and it was so janky looking. But sure enough, I would like show it to people in class, and they would think it was really cool, and they would end up subscribing and also purchasing the very first GameCola merchandise, which was little beaded bracelets that we would sell for a few dollars. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. So that's our humble beginnings.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. I guess, man, like, it's right in that era in between like real life and online, right? That like
Yeah.
the kids these days, but like they don't really have magazines to the extent that we did at that time. So like, would a
Yeah.
kid today desire making a magazine?
Absolutely
Right?
not. A kid
Like,
today would be like, "What is a magazine? You mean like the thing they have at the dentist's office that I ignore when I'm playing with my phone?" Like,
what you mean? You mean that bead thing that you gotta move the beads to the other side of the thing? That's the only thing that I know at the dentist office.
oh my gosh, I kind of want one of those. Those are fun.
Where do you buy them? Is there like a dentist store? Like, does it come? Like, can
Oh
you order
man,
like
I know.
drills
I know
and
where you get them. You probably get them at like Zany Brainy, right?
what? The
Oh come
Discovery
on!
store.
First, oh, I was gonna say first. You don't know Muzzy, but that's
Yeah,
not in the podcast. So
yeah. Oh,
all right. That was a Zany Brainy was a local a local chain in the Northeast.
yeah,
It sold supposed to be educational
yeah.
toys.
I can believe it. So yeah, and then it's okay. So here's the weirdest part, right? Like, so
Yeah.
there's several things that I have to kind of like wrap my brain around in terms of like time frame. Is that like I was almost there at the beginning, like in the context of the grand scheme of things. I joined
Sure.
closer to the beginning than to now, right?
Yeah, right. Well, GameCola has
Um,
been around for 20 years. I think you've been there for like 15, right? It was like 2007,
yeah,
somewhere around there.
yeah. I think I started in the Janish of 2007. Remember the Janish?
God. Yes, the big January issue, cleverly abbreviated to Janish.
Yeah.
What I thought of at the time as like the WrestleMania of our online newsletter.
Yes. Oh man.
Where I would go all out with the layout, which for me meant adding snowflakes to the background.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
that's
right. Yeah.
also when we would do our year-end awards. I would try to debut new writers in January.
Yeah.
I think I would try to just like kind of bulk up the issue, have more reviews, more columns, debut new columns, stuff like that. Yeah, the Janish.
Yeah. No, I guess and like that is something that I wanted to like discuss is because there's the mailing list,
Please.
but then there's also the early site, like before I joined,
Yes.
and then there's sort of the classic era of around the time that I joined, a lot of like our most prolific writers, Michael Gray, Nathaniel Hoover, everybody
Hmm.
kind of joined in that like 2007 2008 era. Then later we get the college kids, and then I took over,
Hostile takeover.
and then there was GameCola's Worst Christmas Ever, and it kind of the slow spiral down until as you were noticing when you viewed the website is currently just I think Danganronpa Let's Plays and the podcast.
I did notice that the last article, we're recording this in April. The last article was in October. So I guess for reference, back in the newsletter era, it was a monthly thing, but we would have 12 or 15 articles in a month at that time, and mostly articles. And actually, a funny thing, I don't know if you remember this, but the podcast actually did have a little bit of crossover with the newsletter era briefly. It started at like the very tail end. So you'd see some of the older issues. It would have like downloads for a podcast that wasn't even on iTunes because iTunes might not have existed yet.
Yeah.
Or if it did, like nobody had it. It was before smartphones.
Yeah.
That's how long this thing's been going on.
Yeah. Back when the term podcast meant something specific, that there was a reason for the term pod.
Yes, you recorded it in your own self-contained pod because that's the only way you could get rid of the background noise.
Yeah. Oh, are you in your closet today?
Everyone had their
with
cast
your towel?
pods that they recorded their podcasts in. Sorry, what?
Are you in your closet today, covered in your towel?
That was one recording. Was one. And if I recall, that was because we had just moved to a new apartment like that day, so I didn't have any furniture, so everything was all echoey.
Oh yeah,
because there was nothing else in the room.
Was that the reason?
Oh, good times. Man, I miss the newsletter. Can you make it a newsletter again?
Well, and I was gonna say, okay, so what do you think your high school self would think about GameCola, right? Like how it's turned out and how it went.
So it's funny. You mentioned that you were going to ask this, and I've sort of been thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the obvious answer would be for me to say like, man, I think my high school self, he would be floored that GameCola was still around. He would be so surprised that this dumb thing he made in high school is still
Yeah.
around. And I think part of that's true. I also think I think part of him would also be like, well, yeah, of course it's still around. That was the whole point. That's what you were trying to do. You wanted this thing to last. Also, why isn't it a magazine? That's what you really wanted. I was so, like, really, like high school, like, I told you, I was inspired by my brother's newsletter. I also just, like, at that time, I really wanted to be a newspaper writer, or a magazine writer. I really wanted to be a video game reviewer for EGM or Nintendo Power or GamePro. So I was sort of seeing this as a way to, like, build up my experience, figure out what I'm doing. And my ultimate goal when I was 17 years old was that I wanted to turn GameCola into an actual magazine. Like, to the point where when I started college, like, I was in school for journalism. I was studying, like, how to become better at this stuff. Unfortunately, I later learned that the journalism program was more geared towards newspaper reporting and that I was completely ill-suited for that. But,
well, I mean,
but yeah, so yeah.
Are you still going to apply to Nintendo Power?
I think there's like a Nintendo Power podcast or something now. I could probably do that. But I don't think I'll be there proofreading the Nestor comics.
Sadly. Oh man, Nestor.
Yeah. Yes.
There has been a resurgence recently, along with the homebrew Nintendo market, for homebrew magazines, I guess. Well, and that's
Would you call them zines?
I was just gonna say that is like there is the concept of a zine, which has always existed, but that like it kind of died out, and now it's coming back. That like there are people out there who are making magazines. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we could turn this around.
GameCola should go paper only.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and you should only to be distributed out of your backpack in your homeroom, preferably.
Yes. Printed on my.
I need you to go to high school and give these to children.
Yes, I'm sure all the kids will be all about this. And oh man, and that's the funny part to think about is like, oh yeah, well we were reviewing NES games back at the beginning. You know, we were ahead of the ahead of the curve in reviewing retro games. But like at the time, like 2002, what would that be, like 7 years away from like the closest NES game? Like,
well, I can tell you the first game reviewed in GameCola was NHL 94 for the Super Nintendo. So that game was 8 years old at the time. That would be like reviewing. Yeah, what would be 8 years away now? That would be like reviewing. Like, God, I was gonna say Xbox 360, but it's probably Xbox One, right? Like,
yeah, because I mean, 1994 to 2002 would then be
like a PS4 game would be the equivalent of an NES game when we were in high school. That's insane.
There's going to be some clicking while I go and I search for year-end awards 2014. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I'm seeing screenshots for Octodad.
Did NHL 94 win that year? Because it really should have. Oh yeah, that's right. Wasn't it like the first issue where I did like the top 10 games of 1994?
Did you? I'll have to go.
I think I did. Hang on, I want to see if I can find that.
Let's see. What was Game of the Year? Super Smash Bros. For Wii U.
Yeah, okay, so, I found the article, Jeddy. The top 5 games of 1994 from issue 1/1 of GameCola.
Wow.
April 2002. NHL 94. Oh, NHL 94 probably came out in 93, didn't it?
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it's not on the list. Number 5, NBA Jam, which I'm not sure I had ever played at that time. Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Number 3, Clay Fighter Tournament Edition, specifically. Number 2, Earthworm Jim. Number 1, Animaniacs.
Wow.
For Super Nintendo.
Wow.
The number 1 game of 1994.
Wow. I wonder how that stacks up. Hold on, actually. That's a good question. Wait.
Yeah, for reference,
Best game?
I'm just going to give you a few games that also came out in '94 that didn't make the cut. Donkey Kong Country, Super Metroid. How about Earthbound?
Well, because I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say Donkey Kong Country, Super Metroid, and Final Fantasy 3, because I was just looking at our
I wouldn't,
best
because I don't
games
care
of
about
20
that game.
best games of 20 years ago,
Oh.
as of
Earthbound didn't win?
2014.
Did Earthbound not come out in '94? Is this website lying to me?
It might be one of those. It didn't come out in the U.S.
Oh. Yeah, that must be it. Yeah, because I think even 2002, Paul, would have put Earthbound on that list.
Yeah. That was 1995 in the U.S.
Okay, that's got to be it. Anyway.
Which is super weird to me because I got it used in like 1996, and for whatever reason, because I got it used, I guess I thought it was like an old game that I had missed out on. So it's weird to think that like actually this had just come out like a year ago.
Oh man, how much did you pay for it? Do you remember?
I think it still has a sticker on the box. I don't have the box at hand right now. I want to say I paid like
box.
yeah, and yeah, everything was there. I could smell the scratch and sniff stickers. The little card at the back that's like,
so
mail
good.
in to say what you thought that the smell was. It was all
Mother
there.
2 came out in '94 in Japan. You were right.
Yeah. I want to say I paid $30 for it. I think.
Oh my god.
Um.
Someone listening to this is very upset right now. And I mean, it's me, but there's also somebody else, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, there we go. It came out in '95. All right. This has nothing to do with anything. I distracted us. I know I don't usually do that when I'm on podcasts, but just this one time I distracted us, and I'm sorry for that.
It is the GameCola podcast. You want to talk about Doug, or do you want to talk about Chippendale Rescue Rangers?
I was gonna go straight to Nicktoons.
So
I saw a picture on Instagram yesterday that somebody shared of a Blockbuster sometime in the mid '90s that had a little. Did you see that too? The Nickelodeon store inside the Blockbusters.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that, but I think I saw somebody else post something about Blockbuster recently. Unrelated.
I was very excited. I don't think I'd ever seen that in person.
Yeah. So I do have to ask, Paul.
Yes, please.
How is your brother's newsletter doing?
So it's not a newsletter anymore. Actually,
Okay.
quite like. Oh, wait, actually, let me look this up real quick before I say something that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Much like GameCola, it's not a newsletter anymore. But it's been a little while since the heyday of that. But it is. He does still have a blog. He changed the name. It's called Frothy Ruminations.
Oh.
And he does post movie reviews on there, like to this day, on frothyruminations.com.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the name. I believe
You
I've
are?
seen
From me retweeting it, probably? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Either that or like you mentioned it ages ago and I just have it like burned into my memory because it's like a curious name.
Yeah, there's probably no stories I'm mentioning on here that I haven't already mentioned before. I'm very, very bad at that. I can never remember what I have said to any one person at any time.
Yeah, well, I mean, also there's only
it's
so many
utterly
times
impossible.
that you can. I think that we've had you retell GameCola's founding, once every 5 years. So
Yeah, every time there's a big anniversary. Well, should we do it again for the 21st for the legal drinking age anniversary?
Yeah.
We got to record that one in a bar, though, right? Like,
well, man, I forgot to say at the beginning of the podcast, I even have a note here to say, gee, Paul, how long has it been since the last time we talked to each other?
It's been a couple weeks, I believe.
I believe it has been 1 week and 1 day.
1 week.
When we visited the garbage store.
Yeah, so that's a fun thing about living in 2022 is that back in the day I lived in the Northeast. Jeddy lived in Florida.
Yeah.
But we've both moved, and now we live close enough that like there's a halfway point that's reasonable for us to like get together and hang out.
Yeah.
So we've celebrated this by a couple times now. One by going to a garbage-strewn estate sale,
Yeah.
and then another time by going to a garbage-strewn garbage store.
Yes. We did have some good pizza, though. I did enjoy that pizza.
Yeah, and the lasagna calzone I had that filled me up until the next day.
And I know at some point we need to go back and I just keep thinking you need to bring Lizzo or something so that there can be an excuse and be like, oh, the kids will be here soon. Let's order them the Mickey Mouse pancakes and they'll be ready by the time they get here. That way, it's not just two adult men being like, yes, I'd like the Mickey Mouse pancakes, if you please.
You are so focused on the Mickey Mouse pancakes.
And I
have you already talked about this on the podcast? Do people know what you're talking about?
I think I did mention this on the podcast at the time that it happened. But I still need to know, are they going to look at me and say oh, it's one of these guys again? Or are they going to look at me and be like, yes, sir, Mickey Mouse pancakes coming right up?
I think it's going to be option 3. I think nobody has ever looked at that menu, read the word Mickey Mouse, and said Mickey Mouse. I think we're probably the first people ever notice it. And if we aren't, surely no one will have ever said those words out loud.
Yes, it's like what was it? Was it IHOP or Denny's with the guy wearing the nose and saying, yes, I'd like the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity?
I haven't seen that.
Do you remember that commercial?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, no. Oh, here's one for me to show Paul. Hold on. Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, right here. First thing I see is the guy wearing the Groucho Marx thing. Here you go, Paul. You can watch this.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't watched this. I'm assuming that this is the correct commercial.
Yes, it's a great breakfast, but, Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity? I'm embarrassed to say it.
And that's going to be us trying to order the Mickey Mouse pancakes.
I got a false beard I can put on top of my actual beard. That should help.
You should have gotten the Santa Claus hat at the garbage store.
That's I thought about it, but I already had a Santa Claus hat, and mine was better and less garbagey. Yeah, I don't know. Have you told people what the store was? It was a store that buys bulk loads of returns from Amazon and then sells them at a kind of a scale. On the first day that the stuff comes in, everything's $7, and then the next day $5, and then it keeps going until the middle of the week where everything costs $1 each, and that's when we stopped by.
Which is the day that we went. Yeah. Yes, on Wednesday.
Yes,
and
it turned out that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I am curious to go back. Maybe we can go back on Sunday for $5 day or whatever.
I think that's a good idea since there is that flea market that's right next door.
That's right. That's what it was. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way, if we don't get anything, we can still go walk around there.
I think maybe my favorite part was that we got there early before it opened.
Yeah.
It's just the saddest thing. And then we left and visited a pet store, and then we went to a thrift store, and we got back and there was a huge line waiting to get into this place.
But
absolutely incredible.
I don't know if you noticed, but nobody really seemed to be buying anything.
Well, no, because there was nothing but trash left. It was all awful. It was the worst trash I've ever seen in a trash store.
Yeah, I was glad that at least I was able to get, I got an HDMI to DVI cable.
Oh, that's good.
And it was only $1, so that's cool. We've mentioned it here on the podcast a couple of times, is the current state of GameCola.net.
You've absolutely run my website into the ground. My poor baby. Look how you massacred my child.
And, oh man. And part of it I try to blame on just the internet in general, right? People don't really read written content anymore. And it's also largely to blame on me, the fact that I don't care about video. So the early days of me taking over, I was just I don't know, Nathaniel, you can take care of YouTube. I don't care. And I've realized the error of my ways at this point. YouTube, it'll never take off. Video content for video games?
Well, I mean, in your defense too, like I don't even know how you get new writers in 2022.
Well,
Like
and
when I was in high school and when I was in college, it was really easy as a student to be able to email other young people and ask them if they wanted to write for free for this dumb newsletter I got. I feel like, now that we're in our 30s, that's a little harder of a thing to pull off.
well,
Either emailing young people or people our age. Like, younger people don't want to write crap for a website. Who goes to websites?
exactly.
And people our age don't want to do stuff for free, which totally makes sense.
Yeah, or just
So
don't
like
have the time.
I don't know what you do. I'm glad it's your problem and not mine.
Yeah, no, and like that's something that I acknowledge is that like part of our problem with getting new people is like even if we say, oh, you can come and make videos for GameCola, it's like, well, then they'll just make them for their own channel. Like there's nothing stopping them from just having their own YouTube channel. Like there was value to be seen when having a website was like a weird technical thing that nobody knew how to do. And like here you are saying, look, I already have an audience. Meanwhile, now if anyone wants to write, they can just get a free WordPress or they can go on Tumblr or they can go on Twitter or whatever and have a bigger audience than, GameCola has currently.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like we were like ahead of the internet in a lot of ways. I feel like we had this website for random people to write on like well before it was easy for people to open a blog. Like you said, we were doing podcasts. Like I sure that GameCola is one of the longest running podcasts that is still going on. I think that's awesome. YouTube, we were doing Let's Plays before like a lot of people were doing Let's Plays.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there was at one point where we had one of the very few Let's Plays of like Day of the Tentacle that existed on YouTube. Like we were ahead on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and like
which I think is to GameCola's credit. That's really cool.
I do remember when somebody started using the phrase "Let's Play," and I was just like, what is Let's Play? Like you're
right.
Like video walkthrough. Get it right.
You're right. We weren't even calling them that.
Yeah, because it wasn't a term yet. Yeah.
That's something I think about sometimes. Like I feel like two paths diverge in the woods, and one is where I keep doing GameCola stuff, and one is where like I got so into doing my Let's Plays of Plan 9 from Outer Space, the video game, and I just kept going on with that.
Really beamish.
It's because I truly did enjoy doing that stuff. I just couldn't keep finding the time for it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And
though.
like this is before OBS. It's back when it's like unregistered hypercam or what was it that we were using?
It was impossible then. It's still impossible for me now.
Because like I'm thinking of whatever the program was that was like you could record your desktop, but it was like whatever was in the rectangle at the location that you like put it. So like you'd get a weird little bit of my desktop in the like clipped area that I'm trying to like put around, ZSNES.
Is that Ocam?
I think that's what it was. Yeah. And yeah. And I saw a bit of that too, because I recently rewatched your Earthbound Let's Play. I told you about that.
I can't believe you would do that.
I live tweeted watching your Earthbound Let's Play. I will never stop talking about your 1.21 gigawatts.
Can I take this platform to give I would like to take this platform to give an Earthbound update. By the way.
Okay. Oh yeah, you started playing again, didn't you?
One of the things that Let's Play was, I don't want to use the word famous, but one of the key factors of that Let's Play or walkthrough or whatever I was calling it was my death counter.
Yes,
that I had to go running. So since you watched it recently, did you get far enough that you like saw how far that the death counter got up by the end of the game?
Oh, I don't remember. Like I finished it like a month or two ago, and I did watch the whole thing.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
But I don't remember what the number was.
Was it like, are we talking triple digits? Because I feel like it was triple digits.
I don't think it was triple digits. I want to say it was like 30 or something, I think.
Oh, really? Is that it? Oh, I thought it was more than that. Well, I guess it's a little less impressive than when I recently replayed it. I only died 6 times.
I don't know. I mean, at least
in fact, I had the thought multiple times while I was playing, like, wow, this game's pretty easy. This game is super easy.
And it is so funny because there's like the entire time you're like, oh man, I'm afraid to get into those dinosaurs. And then the moment that you get to the dinosaur area, you're like, what was wrong with little me? How did little me find this difficult?
I don't really know, like, what or if I was doing anything differently in this playthrough.
Yeah.
I did make liberal use of the auto fight to the point where I don't think I fought anything but boss battles.
Oh, wow.
Which is fun, yeah, because I was just like, chilling out listening to podcasts and getting to
Yeah.
the end of dungeons, or like pausing the podcast when I would see something cool in the stage that I wanted to look at. But otherwise, like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Either I just sit here and push A 12 times in a
Yeah.
row, or I let the game do it for me. Like, what's the point? There's no point.
Oh,
This
man.
is the battles are never fun in these things. Why would I waste my time doing them?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. For some reason, I picked up Phantasy Star recently. I do not think I have ever in my life touched an original Sega game, like not a Genesis game, but whatever the first with the Master System or whatever. I don't think I've ever
Oh,
touched
sure,
that
yeah.
in my life. But for some reason, I was thinking about GameCola's worst Christmas ever, and I am still very disappointed. We lost an amazing article by Shannon Hoover about Phantasy Star, and it was
Oh.
beautiful. And and like her explanation of the game was like a mini guide because I wanted to go in blind, and I didn't want to look up guides or anything for this. I wanted to just like go in, but I knew from her from her review, number one, do not step more than one step outside of town. You will literally die. And number two, don't go near the coast. I remember these two facts, and that helped me greatly. Thank you, Shannon. And I am still sad that we lost all that content because there was some good stuff in there.
Is that when GameCola stopped having articles? Or is like that, like, do you think that marks like the where the content started shifting away from written articles on GameCola?
It had already been going downhill a long time. Like
Okay.
there was a period, and like I remember it really burning me out, is that like I was trying to keep up the pace that we had where like we had like almost 30 writers at one point, like on the staff
Mm-hmm.
regularly contributing, which means with 30 writers, you're gonna get daily content every day of the week.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that's certainly what I was pushing for. I was trying to get, like, at least every, like, weekday. I would try to
yeah.
do. I would try to make
And-
sure to get an article posted.
Yeah, and it was enough to do every weekday, and then also the podcast was on Sunday so that it didn't conflict
That's right.
with other stuff. And then slowly, I mean, and it makes sense, is like the writers are growing up and like we're starting our own families or getting our own real jobs or whatever, we're graduating from college.
Yeah.
So like some people started to leave, and then it became, okay, well, we're going to do 5 days a week, but the podcast is on Monday. And that's fine. But then like I took over, and immediately like I think Christian Porter left, and like a couple other of the veteran staff just like
Yeah.
left immediately
Well,
as soon as the
took
changeover
Matt,
happened.
Eric, and Lizzo all with me.
Right.
But none of them were really writing all that much at that point anyway. But that was like when they all officially left.
And then so I was kind of able to like I was filling in the gaps a lot, like myself, that like
Yeah.
I would write an article, or oh man, dare I reveal the secret that
No,
I'm the one who
no, it's too soon. It's too soon, Jeddy.
But like what was it? I'm trying to remember, because like I had a couple of like I don't think I ever posted as Myrtle T. Blinken, but like there were some of those fake staff members, such as Myrtle
What?
T. Blinken. I believe I feel like I can reveal that secret, that Myrtle T. Blinken was not in fact an elderly woman writing.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah. Also, I don't think anyone here who has any idea who that is. Look it up on the GameCola website if the search function is still
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, it's down at the bottom of the page now. If you're confused about how to search on GameCola.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Why would they put
what's
it
it
there?
doing all the way down here? It's like below the
Yeah.
Facebook thing.
I don't know. I'm sure that like if I really wanted, I could figure out how to move it, but like they're gonna come out with WordPress
such a weird
6 soon, and I'm just gonna wait until WordPress 6 comes out and then update it.
I do really enjoy that the random article widget is still there, because I do
Yeah.
very, very often just like kind of go and click on there and see. Because I mean, guys, this website's been around for 20 years. There's some stuff in that archive. It's really cool. Like here, I just came up with a 2012 review of McPixel by Matt Jonas. Classic.
Digital Championship Wrestling. Phoenix Wright versus Mega Man.
Oh my god, the one video we did for DCW. Oh, my heart. Oh, I loved that. It was so bad. All of DCW was so bad. I loved it so much.
Man.
The era of writing articles with someone else through AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh man. Sorry, I was just thinking about GameCola's one game, Mr. Face.
I believe that's Mr. Face 2.0, if I'm not mistaken, or new Mr. Face, something along those lines. Because the original Mr. Face, geez, talking about early websites. Jeddy, are you aware of this? That GameCola.net was not even like a little bit my first website?
I think that I knew at one point, and I have forgotten. Because I think that's where I know Mr. Face from.
I had started off doing goofy ass... Sorry, are we allowed to say bad words on here?
I think we're G-rated, I'm sorry.
Goofy butt webs. I had started off using freeyellow.com, which perhaps you recognize, Jeddy.
No. I mean, I'm familiar with, GeoCities, Tripod, Angel Fire.
Yeah. It's that same generation. It might actually be a little older than GeoCities.
Right.
But what I always liked about Free Yellow was that it had a lot of, not patterns, what's the word I'm looking for?
Templates?
Yes, yeah. What I liked about Free Yellow is that it had a lot of built-in free templates you could use. So while I knew like a tiny amount of HTML, like enough to make a word bold,
wow,
I didn't really have to do much of anything. So there was a time, I want to say like late middle school, like 98,
wow,
97, 98, where I was on Free Yellow making just the most random fan pages for fandoms like I was not even really into. Yeah. So like my first websites were literally called like a Simpsons website.
Wow.
And I would just have like a GIFs gallery in there and like trivia, all stuff that I had just copied from other people's websites and be like, this is my website now. So that was one of the first ones. I also had one for what you would now call create-a-wrestlers in like old wrestling games.
Okay.
I think we just called them creations at the time. And there was obviously no way to just share files online. So what you would do is you'd go into this website that had these creations, and it would have a list of steps you had to follow to make a character in WWE, WWF No Mercy for N64. Like it would tell you to like, okay, choose this head shape,
and then make it big.
Choose this mustache, this skin tone, etc. So I had one of those where I had a couple that I had created myself, and again copied a lot from other sites. But then after that, I is what was the real precursor to GameCola, which is a website called Destined to Puppetry.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which came about because, you know how like Bitly is a thing now? There used to be one where you could do destined.to and then put whatever you want at the end of it. So I had Destined to Puppetry, which was a username of mine at the time.
Yeah. I remember.
And this was
your first Gmail account that you...
Don't do this to me. I could have had Paul at Gmail.
Yes.
We can get into that, but I'm sure I've told that story before.
Yeah, or if nothing else, P. Franzen or any of that.
Yeah, Paul Franzen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had Destined to Puppetry, and this was like, I don't know if you remember, Jeddy, the website X Entertainment.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, which is now Dinosaur Dracula.
Yeah, which I only realized recently is like I had been listening to them, and then at some point he mentions like, oh yeah, I had a bunch of Ecto Cooler, blah blah blah. Oh, because I was doing XC back then. I was like, wait, what? I've just sat here, marathoning like 10 episodes, and this is the first time that I acknowledged that it was the guy from X Entertainment.
Yeah. So before GameCola, I wanted to make like my own version of that, basically. So I did like articles of like my favorite Ghostbusters action figures and stuff like that. And this is where I come back around to. That's where Mr. Face came from. That's all. It was a stupid web game where it was just a series of pages where you click on Mr. Face and then it goes to another image where his face now has a black circle on it that's like supposed to be a bullet, and then each time you click on it, it goes to a new image where he's more damaged.
Man,
So that's
the early internet, right? Like, what a place.
God, so
Like,
good. And
there's kind of a point where like it didn't matter what you did; it was on the internet, so people were gonna see it. Which kind of
was the experience like this for you, Jeddy? Because there was definitely a time this time period where like it was weird that I was on the internet. Like it wasn't something a lot of people in my well, I guess in my friends group we were, because we were all dorks, but like the wider like 8th grade, like we're not on instant messenger and doing stuff like this. Like it was unusual that I was doing all of this at that time.
Yeah, no.
And now it's like, literally everyone has an Instagram.
And like actually this kind of ties back into the current state of GameCola and so on, is that like at the time when I was getting into the internet, it was an escape, right? Like it was a way for me that like I wasn't able to find people who were interested in RPG Maker in real life. I specifically remember even I was part of the anime club at high school, and that I remember telling the people at anime club, I was like, yeah, I've got these VHS tapes of this show called Evangelion. And they're like, it sounds like garbage. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a great show. I mean, me being like 15. I'm like, yeah, man, Evangelion, you don't understand. And then the part that upset me the most, because like, I mean, basically I just went online and I talked to people about Evangelion. I was like, oh yeah, I'm 15, just like Shinji or whatever. But that like, the part that killed me is that the next year, Evangelion was being played on Cartoon Network, and all of the kids at the anime club were like, yeah, we're watching Evangelion. I'm like, I told you about Evangelion last year on VHS.
Devastating. Absolutely devastating.
But like, yeah, so like the internet at that time was my way to escape reality and to find people who shared my common interests. But now I feel like it's the other way around, that like, if I go online, I have to deal with people on Facebook, like I have to deal, like my mom is on there, like I actually, I don't want to talk to these people. I haven't been on Facebook in years. Like as soon as the pandemic hit, every single person who I have ever known was like, hey man, I haven't talked to you in like 10 years. You want to play board games? And I was like, no. And so I just logged off and I have not been on Facebook since. Meanwhile,
I want to play board games with. Oh man,
and
I didn't get
Paul,
that at
we
all.
do. Paul, we do.
That's a very good point. Actually, after this is over, can we please play Too Many Artichokes or whatever the hell it's called? Sorry, whatever the heck it's called.
Yes. Abandon all artichokes.
From New Jersey. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Abandon all artichokes. To which my response is always, man, there are too many artichokes.
I only say that because I beat you every single time at that game.
It's
the one game I can win.
It's weird.
You
Okay.
can beat me in every game on. This is on Board Game Arena, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the only game I can win. You beat me at everything else but the stupid artichoke game.
And the weird thing about it is that like I kind of hated Flux because you knew the rules and I didn't, and I kept losing. And I was like, oh man, I hate this game. It's so boring. And Bubbly Pop was another one where like it took me a while to get the flow of it, and I just really hated it. And like there's a point where like even though I know the rules now, you kind of know after like 3 rounds that like you're gonna lose, right? Like at the beginning, but meanwhile, something about Abandon All Artichokes, I don't even care if I lose. Like it's a fun game, like the whole thing, right? Like.
Can I tell you what I really like about it?
Which part?
It's essentially, looking at the flavor of the game, it's essentially a game about composting.
Yeah, that's
And I think
true.
that's so good. That's so good. That's something I've gotten into in my old age is composting. So it's
Yeah.
wild that there is a card game that you can play centered around it.
And that it's fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the stupid word games though, like I always enjoy the word games so much, and then you and I play we get to like our third time playing it. I'm like, I'm tired of this. Like
Yeah.
I can't sit here. It'll take me too long to think of a word that's any good. That's why I get tired of Words with Friends too. I'm like, Jeddy's too good at this, and by the time I don't want to sit here and spend the next 20 minutes trying to think of a good word.
Yeah, and then we played Letter Tycoon, and then we played Hardback.
Yeah.
And or hard. Yeah, was that what it is? Hardcover or something?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. But no, I believe where we were going with this was that
yes.
Yeah, the internet's
how much better early internet was.
Yeah, well, and that like there is a point where you know, I enjoy GameCola, and I don't want to like abandon it, and I don't want to leave behind. Like I do go and like reread some of the early articles like that people wrote, and then like I edit out stupid jokes that I made in 2008 or whatever. If anybody, if any old GameCola staff members are reading this, and you want me to edit some bad takes that you had back when you were in college, I can make that happen. And believe me, nobody is archiving this site. So, but my point is, man, like I don't want to just let the site go. But there's a point where I have to acknowledge that, like, if I did want to do something with it, it's like, what am I going to do? Am I really going to sit here and I would have to go on Twitter all the time and, like, build up Twitter, followers for GameCola, and I have to, like, post and retweet and talk, like, post on other articles, and it's like, oh boy, let me, a video game review site, go comment on like Kotaku articles and like Polygon articles. It's like, what am I trying to do here, right? But like, even if I did want to do that, I'd have to I'd have to spend a lot of time trying to like invest in building a community or whatever. Am I going to shift to like what was it? Native content? Like I get those emails all the time that are like, yeah, we'll write the article for you about our casino app or whatever, and we'll pay you $20 to post it. And I don't want to do that, right?
You could always
like
go
the
on
other
one of those
option,
sites like Xeries and just hire people to write SEO filled articles for your site. That'd be fun too.
And like I think about it sometimes as like the original fun of GameCola was that it was a lot of like high school and college students who wanted to write, right? And I do think about it sometimes, the concept of just like, passing the torch to the next generation, but like finding somebody who would be excited to run a site and just being like, look, you know what? Go for it. Like you and your friends take over the site. Like, but the thing is that I don't know where to find somebody that would do that and take it seriously, because, well, and it's like we were discussing before, is like they would just have their own site now. They would just have their own YouTube channel. Like, what high school kid wants to write written content, who wouldn't just like do it for themselves under their own name? The GameCola doesn't have enough pull anymore to like attract people to do something like that.
And so anymore is a very generous word there, Jeddy.
I don't know. Like I'm thinking about, interview?
I think your original point was right. It was a lot easier to get people to write for the site when there weren't that many options. Like you could write on your personal own live journal and review games there for your friends, or you could write for this website that is at least theoretically reaching to a wider audience. And now, that's just something you can just do anywhere without having to join this. And as you said, just, do it on your own terms.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like there's a point where, we're still here, Joe and Anna and John and James and, Blue joined us recently. It's weird to think that Blue hasn't been around for a year. I thought that it had been longer than that. But then I go and I look, and the last message that I sent you the last time I messaged you. I usually talk to you on Twitter. And so seeing the messages on Discord, we were talking about Blue joining the staff, and it's like seems like it's been longer. Where was I going? Oh, right. Yeah, we have people who contribute. The thing is that like it's basically become. Did I say it as part of the podcast, or just did I say it to you that it's just the podcast and Danganronpa Let's Plays?
Well, that's something I used to think about, is if there's a way to turn GameCola into like you still keep the website as a hub, but also use it as like a podcast network. But that goes back to the same issue. Like, why would someone want to make a podcast for GameCola instead of just doing it on their own? What does GameCola offer to a podcast creator? Just as what does it offer to a video creator that can just do it on their own and put ads and get all the money?
Yeah. Or join MaximumFun.org.
That's true. Well, see, I was imagining that GameCola would be partnering with the people who perhaps Maximum Fun was not an option.
Are there limits? Or is it just like you're not popular enough to get on Maximum Fun?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Because
sort of like I feel like too that was sort of the appeal for writing for GameCola, even when there started to be more options. Is like, GameCola is pretty accepting of a wide variety of talent levels. Like it's always been a place where you can go to sort of learn how to do the thing, instead of being the place where you're already expected to know how to do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, certainly when it started, it was a bunch of high schoolers who had only ever before written for English papers, trying to figure out how to talk about Donkey Kong Country in a way that might be interesting to somebody else. I don't know how you find those people in 2022, though. Yeah,
no, and that's the problem. And like, there might be those people out there, but if you don't like, Twitter's not going to put you out in front of people if you aren't already pulling in people, right? Like in YouTube, the algorithm, like it's not going to put your video in front of people who might actually be interested in it if you are not already doing something for YouTube, which is bringing in your own people to watch your own videos, right? And like, that's kind of where we sit, is that like, we're GameCola writers, so we don't have friends. And so nobody watches our stuff. And then that makes YouTube never show us to anybody to have them watch it.
Yeah.
And like,
except when it randomly shows the Curiosity What's Inside the Cube gameplay demonstration, because it's the only video on YouTube, and then a very popular person does their own take on it.
Yeah. Oh man. And hold on. There was a. It was on that video. Is that somebody said on that video, "Hi," to which we responded. I don't know what we responded. I didn't actually read it, but then they replied to us just saying, "Wow, you're still around." And it's like, you could have seen that if you had just clicked. Like, you can find there's a link that lets you find our other videos, right? Like, I don't know how to explain that this is not difficult to find. And oh man, and that's part of the thing that kills me, is this whole concept of like, I have to tell people to like and subscribe. It's like, if you like my stuff, then hit the like button.
Yeah.
And this is where I like fail as a content producer and editor-in-chief of a video game website, is that like, I'm not willing to put up with trying to like explain at every point, hey, like my stuff. Right?
Well, because nobody likes that from a content consumption point of view either. There's a reason why people always make fun of you when people are making fun of like streamers and YouTube videos. They always say like and subscribe in like a mocking way.
Yes,
like it's because it is annoying and everyone always does it. And yeah, exactly.
But people don't if you don't tell them to. And that's where I stand. Is that like, oh man, I was the wrong choice for taking over the website.
No, Jeddy, you were always my number one choice.
I'm sorry that I've failed you. Oh man, like, GameCola's Worst Christmas really did a number on me, honestly. But I don't know what to do with this site now, like in the state that it's in. Like, it is fun to go on the podcast. It's fun to hang out with Joe and Anna and Blue, and occasionally James and John and whoever else might be around. Am I missing anybody? I feel bad if I'm missing it. I can go back and edit some names in. Am I missing somebody, Paul?
Yes, you are.
Such asshole.
But I don't know who.
Matt has been on the podcast a couple of times recently.
Yeah.
I feel like that's about it for the regular podcast crew, though. Like, we don't see a whole lot of even though Shannon might show up for Hacks and Slash, she doesn't really do the regular podcast. Or you're in there. You're in the staff chat.
I am in the staff chat. Yeah, I really should try to pop into the podcast more. Joe gave me like a standing invitation. I just I don't know. I just haven't. I think it's because the topics are usually something that I have no take on. So I don't know why I wouldn't know what to talk about except to join the podcast and say I have no take on this.
Oh
which
man,
is not the best material.
I'm having flashback to podcast 30 and trying to be like, hey everybody, it's time for the podcast. Oh, well, what's the topic? We don't have a topic. Oh, well, then I'm not joining. Okay, I don't know. The podcast is 3D games. Oh, well, I don't know anything about 3D. Then why did you ask for a topic? Offer a topic. We've been doing this for 120 more podcasts, and it's still a problem, apparently. If you don't like the topic, then bring one. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, Paul.
I use my topics on my podcast.
You use, yeah. Which, for those who...
We could talk about Gloomhaven. I'm really into Gloomhaven right now, but that's a board game.
Oh, how are your tuples?
My tuples. Very good, thank you. I solved a second problem in a game I just started coding by using tuples.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the tuple master now.
Wow. Yeah, no, I listened to your recent podcast, which for those who don't listen to the Rock Studios podcast. It was recently.
Jeddy, you were the only one who commented on me using that as the user icon that day for April Fools.
Well, but I don't think you pointed it out, and again, that is the problem.
I wanted to be subtle. I thought that was what would be funny about it, is that if it's subtle.
Yeah, but that's the problem with Twitter now, is that if you don't post regularly, nobody is ever going to see your post, because if and that's what I don't get, is seeing people who have 60,000 posts. What are you doing? How do you have enough time to post 60,000 posts? And then just thinking about all of the content that people are missing, because instead they're seeing 52 posts a day from this guy, and then GameCola is getting buried at the bottom, and we're like, well, how do we get visibility? It's well, you need to say more on.
Do most people on Twitter have it set to view, what is it, top tweets? Because I've had mine set to latest, or I don't remember what the two options are, but I have mine in chronological order, and I refuse to change it to anything else.
Same.
So I see every tweet from everyone I follow and have it muted.
Okay. But here's the.
I don't know how common that is.
Yeah. No. Most of the people that I follow, and me included, is honestly, if I see somebody who has more than 10,000 tweets, I instantly if I follow them at all, I will immediately turn off retweets, because I don't have, and that's the thing, is that I like it to have latest tweets. I want to see them in chronological order. I don't want to log in and then see the same thing that I already saw yesterday. I want to go in chronological order, and I want to scroll down to the last thing that I saw. And I want to see all of the content of the people that I follow, because that's why I follow them, is that I want to see their content. But if I'm following some people who post 52 times a day, then I'm not going to be physically capable of absorbing that much content, right?
There are absolutely people I would be following if they didn't tweet as much as they did.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
And this is why I shouldn't be in charge of GameCola, because all of we're becoming old, Paul. We're shaking our fists at those kids with their Twitter.
It's absolutely
their tweet
true.
numbers.
Well, you should be posting on Tumblr. That's the hot thing now, right? Or
yeah. Oh man, you were just talking about LiveJournal.
Is Tumblr still in use?
I don't think anybody uses. I think it's still around, but I think nobody.
LiveJournal is still around.
Yeah.
Well, Jeddy, I'll give you the secret to finding I have two secrets. One's for getting new readers, and one's for getting new writers.
Okay.
These are some tricks of the trade from me.
Okay.
All right. So for getting new readers, my trick was I created. This is like when Facebook first started. I created a person account for GameCola, like first name game,
Wow.
last name
Yeah.
cola, that kind of thing. And I would just go and look up. I don't remember how I would find people. I would like look for people with like video game related interests and just friend everyone I could find. Unfortunately, that page did get deleted for being spam, but it did help. It was quite helpful for a time. Actually, going back even further, there was definitely a point with the GameCola newsletter, and I should not be revealing this, but I don't think I can still be prosecuted for this crime. But I would definitely like add people to the mailing list without telling them.
Wow.
I'm sure I did that. Or no, maybe I would just send them invites. Maybe that was
Man.
it. I think I would just send them invites.
So
To the Yahoo mailing list.
I do remember in college that what I would do is I would go to the computer lab, or to the library, the computers in the library, and I would just leave GameCola.net open and then just leave the computer.
Yes. Jeddy, you should still be doing this. When you go to high schools to distribute the print copy of GameCola.com,
Yeah.
you should also be... .com?
Oh, man.
What is wrong with me?
Oh no!
What
Feel
is
the taste of
wrong
fresh
with
games,
me?
Paul. Or sorry, feel the free games. Feel the taste of free games.
So my hint for getting new writers is, and you're probably already familiar with this one, find reviews on game FAQs that you really like, and then email those people to write for GameCola. That's how we got Michael Gray.
Man, it's a shame is that there's a lot of new games that just don't have game. I say game facts. Is it game fact? Does it sound bad to say game facts?
I have always said game FAQs. Game facts sounds to me like when people pronounce SNES as a word, but
but yeah, like if you want to find guides to games now, it's like maybe you'll find somebody on YouTube talking about it, but like it doesn't exist in the same way that it used to. Another
oh man,
change in the internet.
If you want my oldest old man take is that I hate looking at video guides for when I'm stuck in a game. I desperately all I want is a giant document that I control F
just search
for the part of the game
yeah.
that I'm in. Take 2 seconds instead of having to either skim through 20 different videos or one gigantic video with an ad every 2 seconds. Like it takes so much longer now. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Oh man. Oh sorry. Were those all of your suggestions?
Those are my hot tips. Yeah. So I hope those help. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Because
building GameCola for the future.
I forgot to mention while we were on the topic of our earlier internet presence. I do not know if you remember my original website before GameCola.
That was the Jed site, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry,
Of course.
I was having flashbacks when I was explaining that I went to college and left GameCola open on the library computers. Is that for the Jed site, I would print on paper a picture that I'd drawn in MS Paint of a bunny. And then you know how like people put those like, here's my phone number, like call me about the car, and like clip it, like cut it, with scissors so that like they can take your number. Like I would put the Jed site, 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 and then like cut them and then go and pin them up on the bulletin board at school. And my favorite part is
Jeddy,
that I saw some people took the clippings.
Wait,
Where
did
are
you
they
actually
now? What
see
did they?
them doing it?
I saw that they were missing. I saw that the
You saw they
clippings
were
were missing. Yeah.
I need to tell you something, Jeddy.
Yes. What is it, Paul?
I did the same thing for GameCola.
Yes. Yes.
Remember my college campus? The same thing, the printed out piece of paper with the little strips that would have the website address on it.
What was the picture?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I think it just had like a bunch of buzzwords for GameCola. Games, reviews, comedy.
Yeah.
Something like that. Unfortunately, I'm sure I do not still have that file on my computer. That would be awesome, though. the Word document or whatever that I made it on.
Yeah, I think I had a few different renditions of my Jed site one that had the picture of the bunny that says bunny on it. There was another one where there's like two people, and one of them is like, what do you think about the Jed site? And then the other one goes, what?
Jeddy, can you imagine if there's someone listening to this
Listening right now?
or someone who is like owns one of your games on Steam or Xbox indie games or whatever.
Yeah,
There's someone within the sound of my voice
Yeah.
who found us because of those signs
Yeah.
and they're like still hanging on.
Oh man, they still have it. They still have the clipping.
They still have the... If anyone still has the GameCola one, send me a picture because I honestly do not remember what it looks like.
Yes.
I had forgotten. But I think I did that at 2 different colleges too because I switched colleges halfway through my collegiate career.
Wow.
So pretty much for that reason, to double my advertising opportunities.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That's another pro tip
worked,
from
so.
Former Jedditor-in-Chief
Yes.
Paul Franzen.
Change colleges so you can meet more people to subscribe to your newsletter.
Yeah. Well, Paul,
I'm actually pretty convinced now that that's what you should do to GameCola going forward.
Which is
definitely the newsletter.
Go back to the newsletter? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because then you know what the thing that worked really well about getting content in the newsletter era is that there was a set deadline.
Yeah.
And I feel like no matter how pointless the deadline was, like you're just kind of pulling it out of thin air. If people have a deadline, they know they need to do something by that date.
Yeah.
Like that itself serves as a motivation. So I truly think that one of the reasons we were able to produce as much content as we were in that era was just because people knew they had to by a certain time. Yeah. And that was something that I lost, moving to the actual internet website, was that there were a few people, like my friend Matt, who just couldn't make the transition. Like he couldn't work without deadlines, and I didn't know what a deadline would even mean on a website where you can just post it at any time, and it just never worked. And I think that was the same for a lot of people, and it's something we lost in the transition.
I do remember where I had a bot on the site that would email you if you hadn't posted in a while.
Yeah,
and that
that was good.
Literally everyone hated it, and absolutely nobody, the only thing I got was complaints about it. And it's like, well, then maybe here's a thought, right?
Oh,
write something.
Goodbye.
Just a suggestion. Maybe you don't need to take 3 months to write one article. Oh, well, I don't have any. I don't know. Just you just posted on Facebook about some game that's coming out that you like. Just write 10 more words and post it on the site. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, that was always my thing, right? I wasn't we were never assigning reviews or articles or anything. The whole idea was that you should be writing about the games that you already happen to be playing. That's why it worked out so well that we were able to produce all this retro gaming content. Just, that's what people were playing at the time. We weren't asking anyone, God, did I ever tell this story about how I used to write for our high school newspaper, and they kept assigning me games that they would expect me to go rent or purchase on my own. And I was assigned to review Super Mario Sunshine.
Wow.
I didn't own a GameCube.
Wow. Yikes.
So that was tough. So that was, GameCola was somewhat of a reaction to that in some sense. I just wanted people to already just be, expressing their thoughts, talking about the stuff that they were already doing anyway.
Yeah, oh man.
That was sort of the idea.
There was
but without the...
actually part of that thing is that as people started to get annoyed, they started just telling me, well, I don't know what to write about. So I did build a list of look, here's some topics.
That's
and
right.
I think only 1 or 2 actually used any of my suggestions.
This is depressing.
I failed the website.
No, you haven't. It's still a great website. The podcast is fun. Yeah. Sorry. Is there a happier note we can end this on?
It's been a good 20 years, right? I mean, for me, it's been a good 15 years.
Yeah.
There's been ups and downs. Primarily lately, it's been downs. But I will say that, okay, we can talk about podcast number 50, right? Our last, was that our last, our 10th anniversary?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, with the
That was when we did the 10-hour live podcast, and ever
Yeah,
since
yeah.
I have continued every year, I beg you guys
Yeah.
to do another one where it's just
20-hour.
increasingly long every year. I'm very
for-
upset that you guys aren't doing the 20-hour pod live
Yeah,
episode
well,
this year.
I think Joe has been discussing that in the staff Discord
Oh.
chat. Maybe for the
Yeah.
24th anniversary, we can do the 24-hour podcast.
That was wild though, because we had it all like scheduled out and everything, and
Yeah,
we had like
different
been
people were
bringing back
coming in
all
and
these
out.
like older people. I think, yeah, like there were some people like
Was it live?
who were there from. It was live. I don't
How
know
was
what
that
the
possible?
heck service we were using because
How?
it was pre-Twitch
Yeah, how did we?
or pre us using Twitch at least. No, it was some weird service that I don't think we've ever used
Wait,
since.
yeah. We did.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it was probably the same thing we used for the Spike TV Awards at the time.
Right. Yeah. There was some kind of thing. Oh man, I don't remember what it was.
Can you imagine, like, this is what I'm saying about us, like, we, like, are constantly ahead of the trend, and then we just kind of dip off before it becomes popular.
Yeah.
Like, we were totally on top of that at the time. It was cool. I remember that's like one of my favorite memories with GameCola is doing these live things and interacting with people in the chat as we're doing it. I always think that's a ton of fun every single time. Here we go. I got GameCola 10th anniversary 10-hour podtacular. Oh man, that's
Wow.
a good word.
Wow. Oh man.
Podtacular.
Save the date.
Ustream.
Hold
It was
on.
on Ustream.
What? What is Ustream? What with the letter U?
Yeah.
Wow, that
Does
was
not exist anymore. Wow, look at the cast we had for this. We had Matt and Eric, who neither of whom have done like barely any. Matt, like, I think just did like drama queens. Brian Vanek, Sean Sackenheim. Neither of them had ever done a podcast before, I don't think. Dan Castro. Oh man.
Oh wow.
Rick L. Wait, Rick L. No way was Rick L. on an episode. Well, some of these also might not have happened.
Mhm.
Some people also did not make it, if I recall. And that was when we did
and,
the fan
Yeah,
power hour as well.
which turned
Oh,
into
that was
like
good.
37 minutes of cut content or something like that.
Utterly unlistenable.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good.
Yeah, and then from that came like the Ho Ho Holiday Livecast Extravaganza.
Yeah.
And then oh man, what is the full name? Like hold on. Okay, so it's in D GameCola events. The spectacular. Oh yeah, which is why I then just called it the TAC. Oh, the new Christmas in July Ho Ho Holla Birthday Livecast Year End Extravaganza Awards Spectacular and Knuckles 2K16 featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Now that's not the most recent one. I've also got
Did you say
Christmas in July.
Ho Ho Holla Birthday?
Yes. Yes, I did. The Christmas in July Ho Ho Holla Birthday
Beautiful.
Livecast Year End Extravaganza Awards Spectacular.
Moving the awards to summer was a brilliant idea because, at least for me, because I still maintain my voting rights, of course. For
Yes.
me, like, it's rare that I have played that many games from a year by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier for voting purposes.
Well, also, it's a surprising amount of effort to schedule an event like that, right? Like, to schedule that you're going to play 4 hours of Christmas / award-winning games, and then also separately to have a stream. Like, that's right, it just moved. Right, it was that I moved it with the birthday. That's what it was. Sorry. I forgot about the whole birthday thing that it was supposed to be lining up with GameCola's anniversary that I just crammed all into one. That's what the combined. Yeah. My point was, at one point, I believe we had 2 separate live streams. And man, 2 separate live streams in a year, that's way too much.
I can't
Way
even
too much effort.
imagine.
I thought for a second you were going to say, I can't even, as if this was 2013.
No, I just can't imagine. I also can't even.
Well, Paul, it's been a good 20 years, and it's been a good podcast with you.
You know, I feel like even if... I mean, GameCola has never had the viewership that any of us would have liked, but I really feel like GameCola still, like, it does the thing that it needs to do. It's just sometimes the thing that it needs to do changes with the times. When it started, it was a place for young writers to figure out what they're doing. Then it became more of a place for people to build friendships, a community, which I think is sort of more what it is now, right? Like with the Discord, every time I look in there, there's somebody talking about something interesting, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that GameCola in some ways doesn't adapt with the times, but I think it adapts with the needs of GameCola, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to Joe, because I do think that he's kind of the one leading the building a community portion of this, and I do appreciate the amount of effort that he puts into managing the Discord and managing the YouTube channel, because there is a lot of that is really on his shoulders that I do appreciate, and a lot of what's keeping GameCola going now is Joe, and then also the fact that James and John are doing the Danganronpa Let's Play. As I said, the only two sources of content that we have.
I will say that Joe, I just want to also agree that Joe has done a fantastic job with the podcast. I will also say that he does pronounce SNES like it's a word, so I would like to take this opportunity to officially fire him.
Well, he does live in the UK now.
That's true. Is that a UK thing?
Yeah, I thought that was always how
it kind of is, isn't it?
Matt Jonas and Stu Jip said it.
It's too. Yeah.
But I think there's a difference, because I think that does Joe say SNES? Because I think that Matt and Stu always said SNES.
Oh my God, you're killing me. Listen, Jeddy, I played a lot of Super Mario on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That is not what we called it. There. Now Joe can make fun of me.
Yes. But yeah. Thank you, Paul, for being here for the Jedditor-in-Chiefs only podcast, the Paul and Jeddy Show.
Thank you for having me. I always love reminiscing about old GameCola stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else cares, but I always find it fun.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening to the Paul and Jeddy Show. I think I already said that part. I don't know, like and subscribe or whatever. Thank you, Paul, for being here. I do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Of course. Thank you, Jeddy.
Yeah. And see us next time on the regular podcast.
I probably won't be there. Listen, if you didn't think the intro was funny, literally nobody will. You can use this at the end of the podcast if you want.